What's up, guys? Readiness Reviews here with you again. And we have here a Russian Mosin-Nagant. This particular Mosin-Nagant is a M38 carbine chambered in the 7.62x54r cartridge. And this is the newest addition to my C&R Milsurp firearms collection. In this video, we will be unboxing this rifle and taking a closer look at it. And although I didn't necessarily purchase this rifle as a project gun, we'll be going over why it's kind of evolved into that up to this point. Before we get this over to the desk for a closer look, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you are into military surplus firearms videos on YouTube, and to subscribe to the channel for all future Milsurp firearm content. While you're at it, don't forget to drop me a comment. Now let's get this over to the reviewing desk. It's been a little while since we've done a Milsurp firearms unboxing, and I think it's about time we remedy that. This is a package that I just recently got in from Empire Arms. I talked about Empire Arms before. At this point, they're basically my preferred method of C&R ordering. You get a really good idea of exactly what you're ordering, and the guys that run the place couldn't be better and are very trustworthy. We'll be opening that today with my Boker Automat Kalashnikov 74. They usually do a nice job of packing. We got some newspaper and bubble wrap in the end cap there. We have a fairly short little rifle today. We are looking at a carbine. The bolt is packaged separately as it should be, and they most definitely didn't skimp on the bubble wrap. It's in a little bit rough shape, but I knew that when I purchased it because the Empire Arms makes that kind of thing very clear. We have here a very worn condition, 1944 dated M38 Mosin-Nagant carbine in an M44 stock. And man, this thing is battle worn for sure. Look at all these things and dents, cracks even. You're probably curious why I bought a firearm that's in such rough condition. And that's actually a fairly simple answer. It was the price. I've been looking for an M38 for several years now. I wish I would have bought one back when I bought my other Mosins, when Mosins were extremely cheap, when I first started collecting Milsurp straight out of high school, but I never did. So now here we are, like 12 years later, and Mosins have quadrupled, if not more, in value since then. I forked over $250 for this rifle. And for that, I think it's pretty worth it, even in the condition it is in. Let's take a look at this bolt. The serial number on the bolt matches that on the receiver. 1, 2, 3. And even though the external condition on this rifle is in pretty poor shape, in Empire Arms description, they said it had a very nice, bright bore. And for me, it's worth buying a rifle on bore condition alone, because all of this cosmetic stuff can be fixed, but you can't fix a bad bore. This particular example was a Century Arms import, and it must have been quite a while ago because Century Arms were no longer doing their import stamps on the barrel. Even in the 2000s when I started my Milsurp collection, came with a cleaning rod. I just had a look at the bore myself. I'll post a video of that right here. I most certainly wouldn't consider it mirror bright, but it is still quite good and very serviceable. It's not counterbored. Many of these were counterbored when they were re-arsenaled. As I said, this one is in an M44 stock, and we can tell that because there is a cutout notch here for the M44 side-folding bayonet. It's also pretty obvious that the upper handguard does not match the lower stock in color. The M44 stock this is in is certainly quite rough. So we see right here, there is a portion that has been arsenal repaired. There must have been an issue with the stock here. They had to splice another piece of wood in it there. In the description of the rifle, they did say that the stock had a crack in it, and I guess that's the crack they were referring to. That is a little bit worrisome as far as determining whether or not this rifle is going to be a shooter. But if we do have to make repairs on it before shooting it, I think that would make a pretty interesting video all its own and give me an opportunity to further my firearms restoration skills. It does look like all of our serial numbers are matching. Magazine floor plate, receiver, bolt, and even the butt plate all over. The finish is very worn. But I guess I'm pretty weird in that I actually like a rifle that shows that it's been there and done that. I don't really care for rifles that are in absolutely gorgeous, pristine condition. Sure, I appreciate them, but when I'm holding a rifle in my hands that I know has seen some action, has been there with the blood and the guts, it increases my appreciation for that rifle. I think we'll take this one down to get a better idea of what we're dealing with on the inside. One thing I've always appreciated when comparing the Mosin to other Milsurp bolt gun designs is how easily these things come apart. That barrel action looks in really nice shape. A little bit of bluing loss right where the stock ends On the rear here, we have another Arsenal stamp in a 1944. Little bit of rust there. But other than that, very, very clean. If nothing else, if I sourced a correct stock for this rifle, it would be an awesome candidate for just completely restocking if I did want it to look really nice. We can get a better look at that Arsenal stock repair here. You can see where this whole piece of wood on the end cap was spliced into the stock there. This piece of wood has a crack in it and is visibly loose. That's so thin. What I'll probably do with that is just go ahead and break that off and then just acroglass it right back on. There's a crack running through the midsection of the stock here, around where the trigger is. That's a part of the stock that absorbs a lot of recoil, so it's not uncommon to see cracks through there. This one that we were looking at in front of where the magazine is does appear to run through the inside of the stock as well. We can see a little bit of that crack running through here. So this stock is going to need some substantial work done to it in order to keep it up and running. So perhaps we'll have to make a future video out of that. So when I was first planning this video, the idea was for this to be a box opening and history lesson of the M38 with inserted shooting footage, as we usually do here on the channel. Unfortunately, after inspecting this firearm and getting a good look at the inside of the stock, I don't actually think it's really safe at this point to take this one to the range, so I'm not going to do any shooting with it yet. Despite Empire Arms' satisfactory description for the listing they had on this rifle, I was expecting the condition to be a bit more shootable than it is currently. They, of course, said that it had a crack in the fore end, and it most definitely does have a crack in the fore end, but I guess they didn't take the metal out of the wood, because you can clearly see that that crack runs deep up into the inside of the stock, and at that point it needs to be repaired before shooting. So even though I wasn't planning on this rifle being a project gun, it has turned into a project gun. Usually I'm okay with that, but at this point I have such a backlog of projects I need to get done. I really wasn't looking forward to throwing something else in the pile. I was hoping that this rifle would be mostly shootable straight out of the box, and we would be able to crank a video out on it and it would be all good. It is what it is. We're gonna need to put some elbow grease and some money into it before we can get it over to the range, but I will get this rifle back up and running in a safe manner, and I will be putting out a full review video on the M38 pattern at some point in the future. At this point, my preferred method of fixing this one is actually going to be a full stock replacement. This stock needs a lot of work, and I don't know that I'm completely qualified to get those repairs done in a way that will last into the future. My options are basically, I do my best job at repairing it. Hopefully it works out. The repairs end up being good, and it is a good shooter for years to come. I can go out, give it to a competent gunsmith that can most definitely repair it, have them do the repairs, but then I have to fork over money that I really don't want to spend. And my third option is just replacing the stock altogether. For the past several weeks, I've already been looking for an M38 or M44 stock to throw this barrel to action in. And if I can find one for a reasonable price before I get around to repairing it myself, that might be what I do. Just throw a new stock on it and call it a day. The stock is in pretty rough condition overall. I don't think there would be any issues with just replacing it altogether, even though I usually err towards let's fix the stock instead of replace it. We'll just have to see what the future holds on that front. Even though I wasn't expecting the stock to be in this kind of shape from the description the Empire Arms had on their site, I don't really fault them for it. They're not obligated to pull the stocks on every rifle they get in and check the insides. I don't think that's a very normal practice in the Milsurp market. So it is what it is. I rolled the dice on this one and it didn't exactly come up in my favor. You win some, you lose some. When it comes down to it, I paid $250 for the rifle, and in today's Milsurp market, I still think that it is at least worth that much, so I would certainly never hesitate to make another order from Empire Arms in the future. As I said earlier in the video, they are basically my go-to for CNR firearms. I want to thank you guys for sticking around to this deep into the video. I really appreciate each and every viewer out there. Don't forget to toss the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and to subscribe to the channel for all future Milsurp firearms videos, including an eventual M38 Mosin-Nagant review, which I'm very much looking forward to doing. These rifles are a literal blast to shoot, as anyone who has experience with the type will tell you. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next video. See you then. Peace.